Elliott here from Movie Files, and as promised from our non-spoiler review of Spider-Man Far From Home, I wanted to shoot this video, create this video for you all to dive deeper into the actual spoilers. So this is a spoiler-filled review discussion, whatever you want to call it. I tend to do these with a lot of these big budget superhero films, whether it be from DC or Marvel, so I'm continuing to do that tradition here. I'm going to dive into all the surprises, post-credit scenes, future of the MCU, all that fun stuff. But before I do that, I want you all to do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and make sure you're hitting that notification bell to stay up to date with our latest videos. Also, in the comment section, this is a spoiler-free review, so definitely drop your spoilers below. Let me know what were some of your favorite moments, your least favorite moments. What do you predict is going to happen with Spider-Man, his next go-around, or the future of the MCU? Let me know in the comment section. But with that being out of the way, we're going to dive deep into the spoilers for Spider-Man Far From Home. Alrighty, so jumping into how I want to kind of handle this, and again, if you've seen my previous, whether it be Captain Marvel, Infinity War, Endgame, Justice League, Aquaman, all those movies I kind of spoiled, do these spoiler reviews, I always like to kind of just summarize the movie and then kind of talk about the points, the things I liked about certain scenes, things I didn't like, and then like I said, what I'm going to do at the end of this video is really kind of dive deep into my thoughts on the future of the MCU, what the post-credit scenes mean and how it's going to impact Spider-Man, and also just kind of share my overall thoughts again with this film. So starting off the film, we kind of get the introduction of Mysterio. They actually showed this clip. I didn't see Endgame after it was re-released last week, so I heard this was the clip that they showed where we get Maria Hill and Nick Fury go to Mexico City, I believe, and that's where they introduced him, or they're introduced to Quentin Beck, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who played a phenomenal villain. I love the switch up, and we'll talk about that later in this discussion here, but I love how he approaches the scene, how we get to see the cool effects, and the movie just kind of kicks off there. From there, we kind of lead into the actual kind of the lightheartedness of the film, where we're more used to the film in this world. In Spider-Man, we go back to the school. I love the credits. They open up with the Whitney Houston song, I'll Always Love You. And from there, we kind of see our favorite high schoolers from when we get in Homecoming. They get the little the newscast, and they refer the snap as the blip. And we kind of see the effects of that. Now, they really didn't touch on it too much in this film. I think they did enough justice to kind of explain to the viewers how the world is handling what happened after Endgame, after the events of the 5-year gap between Infinity War and Endgame. And I thought they handled, yes, it was lighthearted, and I thought that there was seriousness at times, but I think they handled it in the best Spider-Man way possible, where again, they kind of show us a clip of, how everyone was, affected by the blip, as they called it, and then how they came back. They showed, I think it was a band playing in the gym, and then, after the Hulk brings everyone back, we show them back in the gym. So I love how they kind of handle everything there, and also we get a little, they paid their respects to Iron Man in a funny way, but also, it kind of still hurts seeing Iron Man gone, and then we get, saying goodbye to Captain America, because to those that weren't there with Cap, Bucky, the Hulk, and the new Captain America, Falcon, they think that Captain America died. So we obviously know that there's still some storyline, some story thread there with what happened with Steve Rogers and Peggy and everything. But we see that, we see Black Widow, we see Vision. So I like how they kind of open up the movie, and this is where we kind of within that first act of the film, we see what Aunt May's been up to, what she's helping people kind of readjust to the new life of those that were affected by the blip. As she had mentioned, she was in her apartment. Someone, leases the apartment now, and they thought that she was a ghost. So we get that. We see the kind of the hint at the romance between Happy Logan and Aunt May. We see that, that Spider-Man's kind of affected by the loss of Iron Man, very reminiscent of how Iron Man kind of took the effects of the Avengers and how he had PTSD, and he would see Iron Man, the murals and everything in him, and it really kind of affected him. And then it was understandably so, because Iron Man is the Ben, Uncle Ben in this type of MCU, this new version of Spider-Man, and he's very affected by that. So it makes plenty of sense, and I love that they kind of kept that thread throughout the film, that Peter Parker was affected by Tony Stark dying, because again, it's his version of Uncle Ben in this new iteration of the MCU version of Spider-Man. So from there, we get everything from there, and we find out that Nick Fury is reaching out to Peter Parker, and Peter Parker goes to him, and they have a little funny dialogue with Peter Parker and Happy Logan about ghosting Nick Fury. Which, come to think of it, I'm just thinking about that moment where is that scene in the trailer where we see, Spider-Man talking to the police officer saying, "Oh, I can't do your job. I'm the new Iron. Are you gonna be the new Iron Man?" Or I thought that scene didn't make the cut. Anyway, that kind of on a tangent there. But we see everything in that first act, and this is where in my non-spoiler review. And it kind of is still some more of the first act, but this is where I was just like kind of getting used to being back in this universe, coming after the big effects of the Endgame. Again, I think this film kind of is finding itself in not a weird spot, but it kind of reminded me of like Ant-Man after it came after, Age of Ultron, which just like you get these big events, these big Avenger event movies. And then we kind of settle into a little bit more of a smaller story. But again, if you saw my review, I think that they handled it pretty well. But within that first act, we see Ned and everyone going on this trip, that they go to Italy. And this is where we see the hints of the romance between Mary J. and Peter Parker. And, we get the scene where Peter runs into Hydro Man. And and this is where Peter Parker meets Mysterio, and everything from Edith getting handed the glasses for Edith and seeing that he's going to now have the technology and the capabilities of what Tony Stark had, and having all the security control that Mr. Stark had, and which was really cool. And kind of moving again within that first act, this is where I found the film to be a little bit on the pacing issue. Again, they were mixing in the comedy and mixing in the aftermath of the Endgame and mixing in this new storyline. This is where I thought the film was just I was enjoying myself by, definitely want to make it seem like I was enjoying myself, but this is where, to me, the storyline was just kind of, it was like, well, okay, where are we going with this, And then again, and we find out later in the film why people were acting this way, but it's just like this Mysterio character. I love Jake Gyllenhaal, but the way he's kind of portraying this hero. Nick Fury is like, really, Nick Fury is this silly to kind of accept, what's going on, and just bringing in Quinn back into the fold so easily. But it's not until the second act, in the third act in particular too, but really in the second act where things really kind of take place, and I really enjoyed this film. And this is when we get the reveal that Quinn back, aka Mysterio, as they were calling him in the film, given the name of that by his Peter Parker's classmates and in the media and everything. This is where we find out he was lying, which for those like myself that are familiar with Mysterio and that his background, and he's a master of deception and everything, and special effects. So this is where we find the big reveal, and this is for me when the movie really kind of picked up, and this is where I'm like, okay, now I understand why Jake Gyllenhaal was kind of playing really up to this superhero thing, and it was very kind of, I don't want to say generic, but very just kind of a bland character at times for me. But this is where it's like, okay, he was put on the act, he was put on the show, and this is where we find out, this is where, as being a Marvel fan, an MCU fan, and particularly this last, 11 years now, this is where it pays off to be a fan, because we get the Easter egg from the scientist from Iron Man making an appearance in this film. And this is where we see Quinn Beck's character as actually an employee of Tony Stark, and he helped invent the barf system, as Tony called it. And obviously Quinn Beck did not like the name of that. So I love the switch up, and again, I really appreciated that moment, those Easter eggs. Because again, we're at the point where we're 23, 24 films into the MCU, and it is, I don't blame the directors and these creators saying, hey, as Marvel fans, we're going to pay respects to you all that's been on the journey all the way through. They're not going to neglect those that are new or have only seen Endgame or only seen Captain Marvel, only seen the Thor films. But at the same time, this 24 movies into the franchise, you should be up to speed. So I love those little Easter eggs. And this is where I really thought the film picked up. We see Mysterio using his illusions, which I thought was one of the most fascinating scenes in the movie, where we see Peter interacting with Quinn Beck and Mysterio. He's using his full force, and we see, the moment where Iron Man comes out of the grave. We see all the different, it kind of reminded me of like Doctor Strange when he was going into when he met the Ancient One for the first time, and she was pushing him out of his, his body and all that. I thought that was really effective, and it really brought me back to Doctor Strange, but I thought that was really cool. We see Peter now knows the truth and is trying to reach out to Hogan. So I really, again, the film really picks up for me in that second and third act in particular, where we get the action sequences. We see Mary J. approaches Peter Parker and tells him she knows that he's Peter Parker, and I love that they just address that now. Very similar to Sam Raimi's Iron Man, or Spider-Man when she finds out, but I love that they really kind of were collaborating. And Mary Jane, I love, again, if you see my spoiler review, I love Zendaya in this film. I'm such a fan of her work. Again, do yourself a favor. It's not for everyone, but for those mature audiences, watch Euphoria on HBO. It's a great show. She's great in it, but I really love her portrayal in this film, and I love what they've done to Mary Jane, MJ, in this version of MCU. She's not a damsel in distress. I'm not saying that Kristen Dunst was, but I really love that Mary Jane in this version of it has some layers to it, has some comedy chops, can fight off some drones and have a good time with Peter Parker. And I think that their chemistry is great in this film, and I'm looking forward to see what they bring to the screen come the next Spider-Man. And hopefully maybe she'll pop up in some other, maybe some MCU or some Disney Plus shows, because she started off on Disney, so she's no stranger to being on TV. So we see Peter talking to Logan, Happy Logan, about, missing Iron Man. He's not the new Iron Man, but they have that moment, which I thought was a great moment on the plane, where, Happy tells him, Tony was everywhere, man. He was a mess. But he wouldn't have chose you to kind of take up the mantle unless he didn't believe in you. So I love that moment. And then we see Peter go in the back and kind of do his version of Iron Man in a box full of scraps, or in a cave with a bunch of scraps, as they said in Iron Man 1. He's not in a cave. He's in a $1 billion super tech private jet, but he's making his new suit in the back, which, by the way, the suits in this movie were great. The stealth suit, the stealth suit that he got from S.H.I.E.L.D., the suit that he makes in the airplane was so great. And then we get that AC/DC, very reminiscent of Iron Man, which I really love that nod. And again, just kind of finishing up the overall, thoughts of the film. We get the final battle, which I thought was really effective, very well shot, very action-paced, very just a really cool scene. Again, seeing Peter take on all those drones and then having the final moments with Quinn Beck was really cool. And kind of wrapping up, we get the romance kind of reveal with MJ and Peter, but obviously with Logan or Happy and Aunt May, that they announce their thing, and then we kind of see Spider-Man take off into the Big Apple, and he's back at home. So again, just kind of recapping the film, I really enjoyed it from A to B. Again, when I talked about it in my review, when I said my negative was, I feel like the pacing in the first act, again, I think it had a lot to kind of juggle. Again, John Watts did a great job, but it was a lot to kind of, again, following up Endgame, making a follow-up to Homecoming, introducing a new storyline, introducing this new character in Quinn Beck. And just, again, it was a very intelligent script, but I thought the first act had a lot going on. But then the second act, it definitely found its footing. We get to reveal who the true villain is at that point. Because, again, I didn't think the Elementals were that great. But, again, we know why. It was all a ruse. It was all created by Mysterio. And then that third act, again, I thought landed perfectly. So, again, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. And I can only see that score going up here on out. But just kind of touching into some more things. Obviously, the big thing walking out of this film for a lot of people the worldwide release was these post-credit scenes were a must-see, and I agree with that 1,000%. The first post-credit scene, I'm just losing my speech here because I'm just so excited to talk about these post-credit scenes with you all, and I would love to know what you all thought of it. But we see that the Daily Bugle is back. It's a website now. And then the best part of that reveal is that we get J.K. Simmons back as Jonah Jameson. And I just love that. For a slight moment, it came together really quickly. But I was like, are they really now introducing the multiverse? Because it was debunked that obviously everything that Quinn Beck said was just made up, and the employees that used to work for Tony Stark made all this storyline up. But it was like, oh, are we going to get, Tobey Maguire come up or whatever? But no, again, it just came together like, okay, no, they're just bringing him back to play this version of Mr. Jonah Jameson, and I love that JK's back. But that was such a jaw-dropping moment. There were some people in the crowd that didn't know what was going on, but a lot of us, sweaties in the theater that I was at, were clapping and super excited about that. But obviously the big moment outside of J.K. Simmons returning was Mysterio having that leaked video. We saw it in the end of the movie, or in that final act, that one of the employees, the guy from Iron Man 1, who's also in, I believe he was in the Christmas movie. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, we see that he took the little, the USB drive out of the computer, and that was probably where, the website, the Daily Bugle, was able to see that. But, it outs out, they manipulate the footage and make it seem like that Spider-Man was the one that did everything and made up, affected all these people dying and all that. And I love that they played that off. But in the perfect kind of comic book way, Spider-Man's outed. They reveal that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and now in the film, ends at that point. That's the first mid-credit scene, and I love that because now what does this mean for the MCU? What does it mean for Peter Parker in particularly? There have been many runs within the comics of Spider-Man being outed. Obviously in Civil War and a couple other his individual storylines where we see, one, I can't remember the name of the issue, but I know one time, I believe Spider-Man got together with Doctor Strange and he was able to put cast a spell so people didn't know his identity. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that about his identity being outed now in this film. But it was just a really cool moment. And then we get the really, really, really awesome moment. I do think the first mid-credit scene was a jaw-dropping moment, but this moment is really interesting where we see, Skrulls were portraying, and particularly Talos and his wife were portraying Nick Fury and Maria Hill. And it makes so much sense. I'm just thinking this whole time while I'm watching the movie, Nick Fury, yes, you've been gone for 5 years, but you're the world's best spy. Why are you just accepting Mysterio so easily? Why are you just letting him become an Avenger? But it all makes sense because he was played by, Ben Mendelsohn's character Talos, and he doesn't know all this stuff, and he says that much so in that actual scene. But I love what it implies that Nick Fury's in space now. So is he handling? How long has he been in space? How long has he done this before in previous movies where it's just like, hey, I'm gonna, see what's up with the intergalactic, the galaxy stuff, check on my homie Captain Marvel, and I'm gonna have you replace me on Earth. How long have they been doing this kind of bait and switch, and what does this mean for the MCU with the whole idea of Skrulls in the Skrull Kree War? A lot of people were kind of disappointed in that the Skrulls were actually good guys in Captain Marvel, but now this kind of opens the gate that yes, they're good guys, but there's a lot of other Skrulls in the universe that will potentially maybe come into the MCU. But I love that moment, and we see that Nick Fury's on vacation. Now the vacation's over, but a really great moment, and it really opens the door again. How many Skrulls are on Earth? What's going on with Captain Marvel? Are we going to get Secret Invasion one of these days, which I think it will happen sooner rather than later. But I thought those post-credit scenes were great. Again, let me know in the comments how you reacted to those post-credit scenes. What do you think it implies for the future of the MCU? And just go crazy in the comment section. Again, just kind of wrapping up this review again, this discussion. I think that Marvel has now really opened the floodgates. Again, what does this mean for another Spider-Man film? Is he going to be on the run for his third movie? Is he going to be is it going to be, I don't know. I really don't know. That's why I want to know what you guys are thinking. Because again, this has happened in the comic books, but this is a different medium. This is the movie world. How are they going to address him not outing himself and his identity being out there? So it'll be really cool. We'll see what they do. Again, we get little Easter eggs and things that we love about Spider-Man in this film. We get the Spider Sense, or as they call it, the Peter Tingle. I'm just looking at my notes here as I'm wrapping up this review. Again, Nick Fury is in space. Is Mysterio really dead? Are they building the bullpen for a Sinister Six? We already got Vulture. We got the Shocker. We got the Scorpion. Now we got Mysterio. Is Mysterio actually dead, or is it just one of his lies? As we see, he's a great liar, manipulator, and everything. Will they continue to touch on the aftermath of the snap, or the blip, as they call it? I think so. I think a lot of the DC, or not the DC, but the Disney Plus shows will touch a little bit more on the ground level of how people really were affected. Again, I thought the film handled the blip well, but in a Spider-Man way. But some of these more serious characters, how are they going to handle the aftermaths of being gone for 5 years? A Black Panther, I think of him being gone from Wakanda, Doctor Strange, and some of these more huge characters within their own universe and their own pocket of the MCU. How is it going to affect them? So it'll really be interesting to see how things are going to be affected moving forward. Of course, seeing more of Peter and MJ's romance. This film really did hit the nail on the coffin that the Avengers are disassembled because they weren't able to help out in kind of this world, not as big as Thanos, but what Mysterio was doing was a lot of people after, what Thanos did, everyone's on guard now. So we didn't get any other Avengers helping out Spider-Man in this film. So it's really showing you that the Avengers have disassembled, and we're now going into this next phase of maybe picking out some new members of the crew, whether it be a Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther. We're getting some new characters with the Eternals. We're getting a prequel with Black Widow, and maybe another Black Widow replacing her, Florence Pugh potentially. We got Shang-Chi. We got so many different characters coming to the universe. Are we going to get by the end of Phase 4 a new Avengers team? And also, we can't forget, we got the X-Men, we got Fantastic Four coming pretty soon too. So a lot of great stuff in this film, a lot of great Easter eggs. Again, I gave this film a 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to see what they're going to bring with Spider-Man, after this one. There's been talk about Spider-Man and Venom and so much more. So again, guys, I enjoyed this film. This was a discussion, a spoiler talk. I was a little bit all over the place, but again, I really enjoyed this film, and I really want to interact with you all in this video in the comment section. Let me know all the things that you loved about the film, or not all things, because that can be a lot of typing, but let me know a couple things that you love about the film, some things you really didn't like, and again, let me know your theories about the post-credit scenes, the future of the MCU, and the future of our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Let me know in the comment section, guys. So again, thank you for watching this video. Definitely love all you guys' support on our videos, the comments, the follows, the subscriptions, all that stuff. We thank you so much. So definitely, if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with our videos, as well as follow us on all of our social media accounts. All that information is in the description below. We will be back with more trailer reactions. We got Stranger Things coming pretty soon. Today's Wednesday. It's going to be dropping tomorrow, so keep an eye out for those reviews. More movie reviews. Everything that we do on this channel will be coming more and more to you guys, so definitely keep an eye out for that. As always, we appreciate the likes, the shares, the comments, and again, subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching this video.